Welcome back to the Keefer and Kurre Sports. You and I have been talking for like 20 minutes, and
yeah,
normally
we already did one show.
Like we already got a show in the can.
Well, we weren't recording though.
We were talking last week. You tell this great story about Billy Gibbons coming to a Memphis track and standing in the booth while you were calling a couple of races. And he's been on Tony Kurre Radio several times. He's like, I don't want to do an interview with you, blah, 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 blah. I said, I tell you what. Take your phone. Austin Hanks, a good friend of mine, he's part of his Big Bad Blues band. I said, take your phone, sit it on a table at a Mexican restaurant, and just let it roll, and then send me a copy of it. And he's like, well, I don't know what the hell. I said, I don't care. I said, I've got like a half an hour discussion with Billy Gibbons talking about tortilla chips and drinking margaritas out of girls' belly buttons and everything else, and it was fantastic. It was some of the best.
And Billy's so interesting that I'm sure that's highly analytical and very informative.
Oh, and he's just like, you know, he's talking like that the whole time. So, so you and I sit there and we barber it back and forth for 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, hell, we should be running tape. So I'm just going to go ahead and boom, we're going to hit it right there. You and I were talking about Thursday night. Let's get into it. We're having a huge kickoff party. I unfortunately will not be there. I promise you I'll be at everything else. I love what we're doing. We're into our third or fourth year. I can't remember. It's going by so flipping fast.
This will be our fourth football season.
AC/DC is playing in Atlanta on Thursday night. I promised my son Santo is now 21. He'll be 22 in October, and he's never seen a classic rock concert. And I said, you have not lived until you've seen AC/DC live. The last time I saw them was 16 years ago, and I know this will be the last shot. And so we're going to go over there and check that show out. So I will not be here for the big kickoff party coming out of the Birmingham Racecourse Casino on Thursday night, but I wanted you to tell people all about it. And I'll be there in spirit, my man. So tell us what's going to be going on, because the way you put it out there and the way you talked about last week, there's going to be huge announcements. There's going to be free play. I mean, everyone needs to get out there on Thursday night.
Yeah, this one's a little different because what you're describing at the casino parties is going to be week to week. And we've got a brand new contest coming that I'm going to start promoting this week. But actually, this week's event is a kind of a VIP invitation only downtown on 20th Street at the Yancey Williams building. An associate of mine, actually the chairman of the Birmingham Racing Commission, who's bought his own building downtown and has constructed in the base of that building a event center. And we are inviting a lot of our special folks that help put the show on from the ABC ranks, and also on the radio side for me on WJOX. A lot of folks that have shown some interest in being sponsors, and just a lot of the people that put the show on every week, and a lot of our great listeners and supporters. And it's just going to be kind of a kickoff deal downtown on Thursday that we're going to get things rolling. And then after that, we are going to start having a weekly, the Birmingham Racecourse Casino, our primary sponsor, is opening a brand new sports bar, fabulous facility with racing sports. You can play all your favorite horse races. A big one this weekend, the Travers at Saratoga, the Derby champion Golden Tempo, the Preakness winner Napoleon Solo, and the Belmont winner Renegade. Tempo. Golden Tempo did win the Belmont also, so he's won 2 out of the 3. But Renegade, of course, just won the recent Jim Dandy and was the favorite in both of those races. They're all matching up Saturday. You can watch that, of course, at the track. But we're going to have these weekly parties. And Tony, we're introducing absolutely free, no charge. You come in, we're going to have a card for you, actually on iPads. All you have to do is obtain a player's card from the Birmingham Racecourse Casino, and we scan that. You get 1 entry a week. We'll have 10 or 12 games to choose from. You mark the 5 games that you are going to select. It's the pick 5. If you pick 5, we're giving away $1,500 every single week, and it's absolutely free to play. So start planning on coming to see us. Those parties will be on Tuesday or Wednesday nights each week at the Birmingham Racecourse Casino, starting in week 2 of the season, which is going to be the 9th is that Wednesday. And that's the first real week. I mean, this is week 0, and we can get into that. Yeah. Week 0 is kind of a 0, let's face it, but at least it's college football and it's back.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama's got East Carolina. You got
Well,
UAB
that's
playing.
next week.
Or no, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, next week. But yeah, you got what do you got? UAB playing Illinois. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about the first week, so I'm a little confused
Yeah,
here.
well, yeah. This week, the marquee game is dumpster fire North Carolina
Yeah,
against TCU in Ireland.
yeah.
Not a thriller. USC does play, which is a ranked team. They play San Jose State, but the SEC doesn't swing into action until next week. But it's still going to be college football. We're still going to watch,
Yep.
particularly the melodrama, and it's a good place to start today. Okay, you're at North Carolina. You're Bill Belichick. You got your 24-year-old girlfriend who's running all of your shows and won't let you comment on certain things and is lurking in the shadows and stealing all the headlines because that's just such a natural attraction with a 73-year-old man and a 24-year-old girl. I'm sure she's just all in with Bill's charming personality. But with setting all that aside, so that was almost enough of a drama. Then, with much hoopla last year, Belichick takes the North Carolina job because he's butthurt. Let's just call it what it is. That his legacy is being ruined because people say, "Well, I guess it was all Tom Brady because after Brady left, he won another Super Bowl, and Bill Belichick has had a terrible team in New England."
Mhm.
So just to prove that Bill is the all-knowing, he takes the North Carolina job because he begged NFL teams with an opening 2 years ago, Tony, to give him a shot. He supposedly had the Falcons job sewed up. They had one interview with him. He wanted total control of everything. And the Falcons said, "Take a hike, Bill. I don't care how good your resume is. We've seen your being completely in charge situation the last couple of years in New England. And it's terrible." So after all that, they have a terrible year last year. They embarrassed themselves in their debut against TCU, and now they're playing them again. They won 4 games all year. They were just absolutely terrible. They were playing Max Johnson at quarterback by the end of the year, a 26-year-old who's been around. Remember, he was recruited the year after Joe Burrow won the national championship at
Mhm.
LSU. Max Johnson's still hanging around, by the way. He'll be starting for Georgia Southern this year. Get ready for this, Tony. This is his 7th college football team that he's going to take a snap from for this year. So that's just how ridiculous it all is. But I'm getting to the crescendo here. So you've got all this dysfunction. You've got his son Steve, who he's hired as defensive coordinator, although he'd never had an official coaching job before. He has his other son on the staff. He's got cousins and nephews and Jordan Hudson, his girlfriend. And he's got Joe Lombardi, Vince Lombardi's grandson, who's been an executive with Belichick for all this time. And Joe Lombardi right now is currently suspended by the Human Resources Department in North Carolina. And you know what that's for? It's got to be sexual harassment. So you've got all this going on. And what do you do to stabilize the situation in the offseason, Tony? Guess who he hired as offensive coordinator to come in and smooth all that out?
Yeah.
Bobby Petrino.
Jeez, man.
Terry McQuillian had a great line on the my partner, the first lady of the SEC. She said, "Well, Bill doesn't. Anybody else would be worried about Petrino coming in and trying to steal his job. What Bill needs worried about is Petrino coming in trying to steal his girlfriend. Hey, baby, hop on the back of my Harley."
Man, that got us about a good 6 or 7 weeks. I remember on terrestrial radio talking about we had songs about the motorcycle. We had
Oh,
everything about the
God.
motorcycle. It was so good. Man, his star was rising, and it was rising fast. I mean,
Yeah.
he was the man. You mentioned the Bill Belichick situation too, which adds a little injury to insult or insult to injury is the fact that since he's left, New England's only turned it around. And now, of course,
Yeah.
with Mike Vrabel, now he's got some he's got some of his own issues, and we'll talk about that little thing that seems to control the world. I think you know what I'm talking about. We'll talk about that in just a second. But yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that because what is his legacy? I mean, he's won as many Super Bowls, one less than Tom Brady, right? And I mean, he would if he had just knocked it out and said, "I'm done. I'm going to go out on top. When Tom leaves, I leave." He could
Yeah.
have written his own script. He could have said, "Listen, this is the way it is," because we always said, "Is it Tom or is it Bill?" And I think most of us thought it was kind of a Zen circle where it was a little
Yeah.
bit of both.
Doesn't look
But you
like it
need
now. And
you
remember,
needed both.
a big topic for us last year when he was eligible for the Hall of Fame for the first time and did not
Did
get
not make
in
it.
with 6 or 7 Super
That's
Bowls.
that's unbelievable. I mean, the Beatles didn't get into the first Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Okay, I
Yeah.
get that because everyone, it was such a slam dunk. Is like, let's go ahead and let some of these other people get in to make it a little interesting. They got in, I think, in the second and third year, but we knew they were going to get in. I'm not so sure about Bill Belichick. He has done nothing from a legacy standpoint to secure that.
Well, let
He
me ask you
should. I
this:
mean, it
he's
should be a
done it
slam
North
dunk.
Carolina, Tony. Isn't he further destroying any great will and
I think
equity that he's
so.
built up?
I don't know what he would have gotten out of getting North Carolina to a playoff situation. I
Yeah.
mean, they've been high flying the last 3 or 4. Mac Brown had him going in the right direction for a little while, so I'm not so sure. I don't know. I really have no clue why he even took that job. He's a strange bird. He's a weird dude. But yeah,
He's getting $10 million a year, but
you
does
don't
Bill
need $10 million
Belichick need
a
the
year.
money?
No, the thing is though, most players and coaches now, they're all making their money doing endorsements, and no one wants Bill Belichick endorsing their product. They don't. Tom Brady makes
No.
more money off his endorsements than he does in television. Shaquille O'Neal's making 15 times what he made playing in the NBA right now. He's on everything.
Amazing.
Rooms to go. He's on Papa John's commercials. The guy's unbelievable. I wanted to ask you, though, about the CEO and principal owner of your 49ers, San Francisco 49ers. This guy named Jed York, who evidently went back home to Ohio. This is so ridiculous. This guy's been married for 15 years. He's got kids. He is worth $8.5 billion. His family is. His name's Jed York. He goes back home and gets stung in a prostitution ring this past week. Evidently, he was on a site. I don't. This. How are you 46? You're worth $8.5 billion and you're so stupid to get onto a website that is known for setting rich people up with prostitutes and not thinking you're getting it burned. And of course he does. So, and now it was knocked down to a misdemeanor for disorderly conduct and something called possession of a criminal tool. I don't even know what the hell that means. What's a possession of a criminal tool?
My imagination's running wild with that. He must have a criminal tool.
Yeah, well, is that nunchucks? Is that brass knuckles, or is that a sex toy? What is that?
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting charge. Didn't know that was illegal, but what?
No, but as just part of the fan base, we've always thought if you've got that kind of money, like why is Tiger Woods driving? I don't get it. We got Uber. He's worth billions of dollars outside. If you want to go racing, have Talladega close down the track one day and they'll let you drive your car all you want for as long as you want. If that's truly what you want, you can make anything happen but that. And from a sexual standpoint, it's like, what in the hell are you doing? Because it makes him, he's just a scumbag. He's got a wife for 15 years. He's running this organization, and I guess maybe you get into that. I'm worth $8.5 billion and I'm privileged, and nothing can touch me. And a lot of people feel that way when they get to that level. But I could not believe when I saw that story, and it happens over and over and over again, and it's always has something to do with some sexual deviance. I'm like, how bad do you need it? How bad do you want it?
Yeah, there was a big roundup here in Alabama a couple weeks ago of a lot of people that we're familiar with, that from a couple from media circles and prominent with the University of Alabama, who got arrested in a prostitution sting with underage participants. I mean, what are these guys thinking? I mean, that's just crazy.
I don't know. Again, if I'm worth $8.5 billion,
if I'm worth $8, I'm going to think twice about that.
You're not going to get the quality as you get for 8.5.
I mean, what is? I mean,
you've got to know people that know good-looking girls that are better looking than anything you could ever get on your own. That would be more than happy to sleep with you for about. And by the way, the site that he was on, it was $140 a girl. He was spending $140 on a hooker, on a prostitute, when a guy's worth $8.5 billion. Prostitution was like 150, 15 years ago. I don't even know
Yeah.
where he's shopping. $140 for a girl. I don't even know what you get for that. I mean,
Well,
you may be able to
the
open the
former
door.
local sports host here in Birmingham, I think his was $100. So
I
I
mean,
mean, good grief.
yeah, right. I mean, I'm just thinking to myself, listen, I've been in a situation where I've had a couple of drinks and I'm hot and heavy after a girl, and you get that crazy primal thing, and your eyes start to fill up with the retinas are blowing out of your head, and you're just ready to go. I get the sex thing, and you get the caveman coming in. But I mean, to actually go through a premeditated, and of course, again, he's got a wife he's got to answer to. So she's probably licking her chops at some of that $8.5 billion, because I don't know why. It's one thing cheating on your wife. It's another thing doing it with a prostitute. That's just, why are you bringing that back into the house? So I want to talk about
I
that.
just cannot believe how the human mind reasons
No.
that how that in any way, shape, or form the risk of all that's going to be worth whatever sordid reward that you're going to get in that brief encounter.
Now, many men would say we're paying for it anyway, because by taking women out and having
Yeah, but
drinks and having dinner, so
those
it's a
guys you
totally different
mentioned,
story.
caveman, that's a
I will say
caveman
this:
mentality.
I've never understood that. I've never understood going to topless clubs. I've been to topless clubs almost in every city. I used to do remotes at Sammy's, now the ping pong. I get that. But I think it's absolutely pathetic to sit there at the end of the bar and flipping cash up when first I don't have it, but just flipping cash up in hopes that you think that you're actually going to break the mold and you're going to get a
Oh,
pretty
sure.
woman. You're going to
Yeah.
get a Pretty Woman 2 movie out of it. It doesn't happen.
Yeah,
It doesn't
sure.
work that way.
Well, and
Um,
what's hilarious is I've heard, these really strong advocates for women and everything, and God bless them, advocate all you want, but don't tell me that a topless bar or a strip joint is exploitation of women. That's the most ridiculous thing of all time. It is just the reverse. It's exploiting stupid men. The women are the exploiters. That is backward role reversal.
That is true. Hey, I remember when we were because I used to do remotes for Sammy's.
Yeah.
This is back in the rock days.
And Sammy's was at least semi classy.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
It
they got
wasn't a
busted a couple
trashy
times.
joint.
You had to wear pasties for a while, and you couldn't go bottomless. For Birmingham, but it was so funny. They started serving lunch, and so there's this new thing where they started serving lunch, and I just thought it was the weirdest thing, because you just don't go to Sammy's, and it's at one point before, say, the furnace opened up, and I sound like I know all these strip clubs. I don't. I mean,
I've never set foot in
we've run
there.
we've run commercials for all these things, and there was Wesley's and all this other stuff. But they were having lunch. But I got to a point where I started a non for profit for special needs individuals and kids called the Bright House Foundation with my then wife Nancy, and we raised over $500,000 over the course of 10 years and gave it back to organizations like the Arc of Jefferson County, Arc of Walker County, the IDB. And it was a wonderful feel good thing. And we helped a lot of families that had special needs and were blind and this, that, and the other. And all of a sudden, I heard myself on the radio doing a Sammy's commercial and then doing this commercial for this non for profit. And I thought, this is not right. This is wrong. This just sounds weird. I mean, they were up against each other. So I went to Sammy's and said, listen, appreciate, everything you've done for me. I've had a relationship with you guys. It wasn't like I wasn't doing weekly gigs there, but I had to do a remote once a month, but I can no longer do your stuff. And there was a guy up there. His name was Peanut. Anyone that's watching this show right now that's ever been to a strip club knows Peanut. Peanut kind of ran the joint. He was the manager. He was just short of the mob. He was a hell of a nice guy in a weird working environment. And he said, Tony, he says, we have to have you. I said, well, and so he offered me $5,000. He said, I'll give you $5,000 right now if you continue to work with us. And I said, Peanut, I can't. This is 1991. And I said, I can't do it. He goes, I'll give you 10. And I'm sitting there going, and I'm like, $10,000. And I said, Peanut, you're killing me here, man. I said, I just, and I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe if I took the 10 grand and gave it to the special needs, the Bright House Foundation, and ultimately that's as high as he went, but I didn't do it. I stood strong. And it felt so weird we grow up. I guess, us little boys, we eventually grow up and we realize what's important in our lives. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. Another story I wanted to get into real quick, and I saw this story last night on NBC Nightly News, and I was kind of rooting for this team. Do you know about the Columbia Eagles of Huntsville, Alabama? Did you hear what happened a couple nights ago?
I'm familiar with them, but I have not been keeping
It
up
was
with
this
it.
past weekend.
Enlighten.
Yeah, and I didn't realize this actually happened in the state of Alabama. The Columbia High School Eagles had lost 101 games in a row. They hadn't won a football game in over 15 years, or it was 11 years, I guess it was, back in 2015. The last time they won a football game, just one game, Barack
Wow.
Obama was president.
Wow.
Gasoline was a buck 89 a gallon. And you can go back and look and see what else is happening in 2015. But this past weekend, 41-14, they knock out Greensboro and they win their first football game in over 11 years. Have you ever been in a situation where you've been part of such a losing squad that eventually turned it around and make something special out of it?
That's about as long as I can possibly imagine. I can't think of any
Do you know who
example.
their coach is?
No, I have no idea.
Sammy Coates, formerly of the National Football League, played with the New England Patriots. It's his first year. Sammy Coates is
Really?
yes, and he came in, and I mean, why would you want to go to Columbia in
Well,
Huntsville?
I
I don't
mean,
know.
There's nowhere to go but up.
Really,
You
but he
can't,
came
you
in, and
can't
I
go
mean,
any worse.
and the funny thing is, in the beginning of the game, they get down 14-0 in the first 5 minutes of the game. So
Wow.
they're on their way to losing 102 games in a row,
There we go,
14
yeah.
nothing. And next thing you know, they come blazing back. They held them scoreless the rest of the game, won 41-14.
How
And
about that?
that's what makes sports, so wonderful.
It is.
I just love
It's
that.
good for Coates and Columbia. I had become familiar with them just I think the year before last when the streak was only like 80.
Yeah.
It was somehow it emerged because they had come close and only lost by like 1 point. It became a big story. They almost broke the 82 game losing streak, but came up 1 point short. So it's nice to know that they finally have broken through here in a big way.
I mean, don't you have to want? I mean, you're in the state of Alabama, right? It's so important that you have football at some level. At what point do you say we can't do this anymore? I mean,
Yeah.
after 11 years, and you keep losing every single week. You get on the schedule, and every other team is putting a W by it.
Well,
But
just think
you
of
know,
all the character that's built up in the hundreds of kids that have come through there.
Hey, and you know what's great is I think out of the roster, I think there's like 86 kids in the roster. 82 of those kids are from last year. He didn't go
Wow.
out. He didn't go out and bring in kids from other schools. He
Yeah.
played with the same kids that did not win a football game last year. So kudos to Sammy Coates for
That's
getting
great.
that.
I hope I hope they continue to win and have a get to 500 or whatever, because you got to start somewhere, and that's a great feel good story that they finally broke through.
All right, final thing I want to throw at you, and then I want to get your thoughts on things as we get ready for college football. Week 0 is coming up on Saturday. Week 1's really where we have something to shine on, but it's still college football, and we'll talk about why in the world don't they have better games. I don't want to watch a game in Ireland. I mean, it's as close as we can to a good football game, but it's going to be but maybe it's an opportunity too for like the UABs of the world to actually get some TV time. But DeQuan Wright, this kid who ends up going to, I guess, the Eagles.
Well, he went to the Browns. Was it
Yeah.
who drafted him? He
Yeah,
was
but-
from Ole Miss.
But originally he was kicked off the Eagles squad. He went to the
Oh, okay.
Eagles, and then he was kicked.
Okay.
He was kicked off the Eagles. Then he went to the Browns. He was undrafted, and obviously is let go of that particular situation. If he makes the practice squad, a lot of people don't realize that you get drafted or you come in as a walk-on per
Yeah.
se, a walk-on. You can make the practice squad, and that pays, I think it's $314 a year. $314,000 a
Yeah,
year to be on
yeah.
a practice squad. Not bad cash. Not bad cash.
I'll say.
$314,000 a year. But he knew that if he didn't go through with it and he didn't make the team, that he could go back to college because one, Lane Kiffin called him out. He was obviously with Ole Miss, called him out to ask him if he'd want to come back to LSU. He still has a year of eligibility. I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, this is a typical situation. The commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey, has already come out and said this is the poison pill that's going to completely kill college sports forever and ever, because you can't have. I mean, let me give you an example of how things have changed. After his Heisman Trophy winning season in 1980, where Georgia won the national championship, Herschel Walker was coming back for his senior year. You didn't have guys coming out in the draft back in those days. When you went to college, you played for 4 years. Herschel Walker was introduced at an event to an agent and shook his hand. And he was immediately declared ineligible because he had had contact with an agent. And he was drafted then by the USFL because the NFL draft had already been conducted by the New Jersey Generals, owned by a 34-year-old businessman by the name of Donald J. Trump. So Donald Trump drafts Herschel Walker for shaking hands with an agent. Now we're in an era, Tony, where you declare I'm going pro. You go, I didn't realize he had been with Philadelphia and been released, ends up with the Browns. Todd Monken, the former offensive coordinator for Georgia and the Baltimore Ravens, is the new coach of the Browns. Just kind of a humorless guy, doesn't like the limelight, but he dropped the mic at the beginning of his press conference the other day when he said, well, yeah, we've looks like we're going to release. We'd offered a spot on the whatever you call that other group, the other. You just use the term. What do they call the place?
The practice squad.
Practice squad. Yeah, that's how obvious. Yeah. So he's on the practice squad, and he says we had offered Daquan Wright a spot on our practice squad, but it looks like he's entering the college football transfer portal.
And you know why? He's going to make more.
Absolutely.
Playing college football.
Going to make $2 million to go play at LSU.
And by the way, if you're getting cut by Cleveland, you can't be that good. No one gets cut from Cleveland. It doesn't happen.
No. And the transfer portal is closed now. So he left Ole Miss, but now, because again, the college football now is being looked at by these players as just another place to go and drive up your value and bid for more money. This is a disastrous situation. And we got this problem in this country right now where judges, one in Louisiana, opened the door to all this by me. And I've been telling everybody.
I know you have.
I've heard so many people say, well, at least now we got a rule, 5 years, absolute minimum. That's it. You get 5 years of eligibility. And you can't, doesn't matter if you redshirted, doesn't matter if you were hurt, you get 5 years. Everybody thought that was, and I said, guys, there's already 114 lawsuits in the first week trying to prevent that. And all you got to do is shop for a sympathetic judge and you can get it overturned. The guy in Louisiana opened the door to letting these guys come back. And then another crackpot judge in a district court in Colorado, he declares a nationwide edict that everybody's eligible to play in any circumstance.
From Colorado.
How does that guy have the authority to make any kind of nationwide?
From Colorado. He made an executive decision.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got the founders right now, not only spinning in their graves, they're doing double somersaults with a reverse twist, because the whole idea of judicial situations was to resolve disputes between two parties. Now you've got judges making judgments for everybody that's even has a relation in any remote way to these cases. It's not the plaintiff that's standing before them against whoever is disputing what they want to do. I mean, the judicial system is completely out of control, and something has to happen, not only on the sports level, but just overall in this country, because you can just, anything you want to get done. If you want to stop the president of the United States from initiating a policy, you go find a sympathetic judge, and some podunk judge in the middle of nowhere can put a stop to edicts that the duly elected president. It's like the old Monty Python bit where the king is riding through the countryside on his pretend horse. Remember, and he comes up on the guy in the dirt.
Just a scrape.
And he says, well, I like to listen to you. He says, yes, you do. I'm your king. He goes, well, I didn't vote for you. That's the kind of world we're living in now.
Yeah. I don't know what this does. Listen, before we start going great, now we're going to have NFL players in college football. I don't think it's going to get to that point, because obviously if you can play at the NFL level and you can make money doing that,
Tony, can we stop? Can we stop one thing right now? Can we stop calling them student athletes?
Oh, yeah.
What a joke. This
Yeah.
has nothing to do with being a student. This is being a paid person representing a school, trying to promote that brand. This student athlete crap. I heard a bunch of coaches come to the podium at the SEC media days talking about the grade point average of their players and all that. It made me want to gag because that's not the emphasis now. They're not there to get an education. They're there to get paid and get paid big money.
No, I don't even know what happens anymore. If your GP, if because you have a certain number you have to attain,
Supposedly.
your APR, yeah, in order, and that's why always people said it was really difficult to go play for Duke or for Vanderbilt because their standards are so much higher. I don't even know what happens now when you got a guy's making $1 million a quarterback and he's got a 2.7. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, you think there's a little pressure from the administration of we just signed this guy for $3.5 million. You can't give him a D and make him ineligible. You got to
Yeah. And that's been going on. That's been going on for years. You don't want to be the teacher that's going to set him down and put him on the sideline.
Yeah,
This
no
reminds
way.
me. This reminds me a little bit, in a weird kind of way, of when pros were allowed to start playing in the Olympics. You know what I mean? For some reason, the first thing
Yeah.
I thought was the dream team because I was kind of like, are we really going to let NBA players, because they're going to kill them, and they have. I mean, almost
Oh
every
yeah.
single time they played, with the exception of one. And I'm thinking to myself, do I want to watch that? Do I want to see that? Do I want to see it get that top heavy? And the answer is, yeah, I guess so. To see gold, and
Well,
you ask most of
but
the
it's
guys in
the
the
same
NBA, they love that.
justification. Yeah, it's the same justification if you think back, because basically the Russians and the East Germans, those guys weren't amateurs. They were paid by
No.
military guys.
And
They
that
were
goes all
paid.
the way back into World War II days, man. The Germans, man, they were juicing girls and guys.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
It was crazy.
Reminded me of Pete Golding, the new coach at Ole Miss, which is he's a pistol. He started off. It was Terry and I's favorite presentation at SEC media days because Pete Golding started off very buttoned down, and that's not his personality. He's a loose cannon if there ever was one, saying, "Well, I've been really educated by the compliance department on the parameters of what I should talk about here today." And about halfway through, they kept asking about his tampering charge. There's a guy named Zarelli who is going to be a starting linebacker at Ole Miss, who was enrolled at Clemson in his first day after transferring from out west to Clemson. And Pete Golding called him on his cell phone while he's in class for the first day at Clemson and said, "Hey, you need to rethink this. You need to come play for us." It is the most blatant tampering of all time. So Pete Golding gets off on this thing where, well, you know what? If you're on the expressway and everybody's driving 80 miles an hour and you're driving 45,
That's a good
you're
analogy.
just going to get run over. You've got to press the accelerator and keep up with everybody else. That was his pivot, and that's exactly where we are right now.
As a mom and dad used to always say on the way to church, man, my mom would be going 75 miles an hour. I go, "Mom, what's the speed limit? Like 16?" She's like, "I'm just keeping up with the traffic, honey. If I don't keep up with the traffic, I'm going to get run over. You got to keep up with the traffic. It's not safe to be going 55 miles an hour." But yeah, I still think, particularly since, of course, we kicked the can down the road on the Protect College Sports bill or whatever the hell that is. And
it's not going to go anywhere.
It's not.
And it doesn't fix the problem anyway, because one size doesn't fit all, Tony. It's just not that kind of a deal.
It never has. And, by the way, Mark Ingram, who is no longer with your UAB Blazers, is going to continue to do his show. And I can't wait to get him on because now.
Good.
Yeah. So we're going to continue to do a podcast. We'll start.
We'll get him to come back in and do TV one week.
Absolutely. I know he'd love to do that. And I'm really excited about where
we would love to have him as our resident expert. That would be awesome.
Absolutely. That's going to happen. That's a done deal. We've already talked about that. So I'm looking forward to getting him in. And if we, he could be on the show every week if he wants, as far as I'm concerned. I think he's that good. That's going to be really interesting. I do think, I was kind of hoping that everything would get kind of tied up and we at least have a semblance of what we can expect. And then when this Cleveland Brown thing, I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't even sound right. I mean, I've heard every scenario out there that doesn't even seem possible. I realized that he was not drafted. He went into the draft. He was not, and everyone was like, well, he wasn't drafted, so he's not that good. He's only got 4 years of eligibility done, so he's still got a 5th year. And a lot of people are saying, listen, I don't have a problem with this. And I'm like, well, if there's no loopholes, or there is loopholes, and there's no reason to say he can't do it, and Lane Kiffin, I guess, is smart enough to get it done. He's going to win a championship at LSU. I saw the numbers, by the way. Will Lane Kiffin win a championship at LSU? Not this year, but just will he win a championship at LSU? It's a minus a buck 50.
Wow.
That is like crazy. I mean, will he
Because
not?
they know I mean, the market knows he will resort to whatever is necessary to get that done.
I've never seen when I saw that, I thought it's going to be plus 160, 140, something like that. I mean, it's still hard to win a national championship in college football. Minus a buck 50.
Yeah,
and that means people are betting that side. That means they're like
absolutely.
So
That's basically the favorite. Because you've got LSU now has become the ultimate rogue state. It is all the decisions are not being made by an athletic director. They fired him. The governor fired him.
mm-hmm.
The governor of Louisiana had a meeting last weekend in his office with all these big money donors and all these people trying to the governor is really calling the shots at LSU. They brought Will Wade back as the basketball coach, who was disgraced for cheating and got run out of town about 5 years ago. He's back. Tony, right now they're paying guys from all over the world, professional players, that they're finding some kind of loopholes. They're going to have like an NBA-looking basketball team this year.
It's unbelievable.
LSU's just the rogue state.
They really are. The final story I want to talk about, and then we got some time. We're going extra long. We're going to cut this up because it's so good. I could sit here and talk for hours with you. And of course, you can watch our television show, ABC 3340, the Birmingham Race.
And I don't get worked up about any of this stuff.
No, you don't. I know what's going to crank your numbers.
I'm probably going to eventually ripen and rot. I'm so mellow.
Yeah. You have to laugh or you'll cry. I can remember when the Joe Paterno Jerry Sandusky case went down. I was doing morning radio. It was absolute huge news. It was disgusting.
Horrifying.
Deplorable. It was horrifying. I hated it for Joe Paterno because I thought Joe was just kind of a puppet at that point. I mean, he didn't show, he didn't record, he didn't show up, he didn't even show up to me. He was just the old guy on the sideline.
He was in his 70s. He was right at the end.
Yeah, and he was the winningest coach.
And the symbol for integrity and honesty.
He lived on campus. You could do a knock on his door at 3 o'clock in the morning. He lived on campus, for God's sakes. Kids were camping out and tailgating on his front lawn during Saturdays. It was Happy Valley for a reason. And when all that went down, he got hammered. I remember I got a Joe Paterno helmet signed by him about 4 years prior to that. It was my pride and joy. I still have it. And I thought, what am I going to do with this thing? Is it even worth anything? I still stand in the corner that I don't know. Joe realized just how bad things were getting, and I think he was a little senile.
And this is not a defense. Really old school. I mean, this kind of shocking thing for a guy from that era. And again, I'm not excusing his indifference because he was aware of this many years before. And I'll tell you what I think his ultimate sin was. But this was a thing. He loved that institution so much. He viewed this and knew this was going to hurt Penn State. He wasn't doing it to preserve himself, but he had this loyalty to the university of, we just need to sweep this under the rug and make this go away.
Yeah.
Where the unpardonable sin was, they continued to let Sandusky come back. Even though they fired him from the staff, they continued to let him be part of the football camps in the summertime because that was a way where he could still make a little money and everything else. But by leaving him in that environment, that's when all the scandal really blew up because he continued that same behavior. And Paterno eternally is going to be condemned by me for saying, okay, I can see the old school kind of attitude. We just want this to go away. Let's sweep this under the rug. But for him to allow Sandusky to have anything still to do with that program is just unpardonable.
No, and he knew that once he did come down on Jerry Sandusky, that it was going to open up a hornet's nest and everyone was going to start digging deep. So he was going to get it nailed either way. But the one thing he could have done is he could have stopped the progression of what was going on with young men in and around that program. And you're right, because he even had like Didn't he have a non-for-profit or something? Jerry Sandusky, some non-for-profit for
Yes.
boys, something like
Yes.
that. Like Jared from Subway Sandwiches. I don't know these guys.
Yep.
The first thing you got to do is if you have
We're
some
back.
type
We're
of
back to the same theme we started
yeah,
the show on.
exactly. If yeah, exactly. If you have some type of program mentoring boys, God bless you. That's wonderful. You should be looked at a little bit more strenuously when it comes to this
And
kind of
this
things.
literally broke Joe's heart because after all this broke, it only took 6 weeks later he was dead.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally killed him.
Yeah. So my point being, you're like, why are you bringing up something that was 15 years ago?
Yeah.
I, I remember saying that they should end the program. They should no longer have college football. They considered it. I mean,
Yeah.
the NCAA hammered them. I don't know what it was, a
And
10-year
after last
probation or
year's
whatever.
team, they should consider it again.
Yeah. People said that Penn State will never be back to where they were before. They'll never win a national title. And then I remember what's his face O'Brien came in and did a fantastic job at kind of turning it around. It was still just too big to be held down, and so they started doing things right, and everyone was scrutinized. This past weekend, they had a huge drug bust up
Oh
at Penn
God.
State, and it's just amazing because this is like this just should I know this happens in colleges, but evidently there were like 14 or 15 guys arrested. They had guys coming in to be pledges, making them sell drugs, making them cut up the cocaine, making them they basically were, it was slave labor is what it was. They
Yeah.
were like, listen, if you want to be part of Delta Chi, whatever, you need to take this pound of cocaine, cut it up, and have it ready for us by 8 o'clock tonight, so we can go ahead and sell it. And it was everywhere. And I thought the '70s were over. I didn't even know that kids did that stuff anymore. I mean, I know they do, but not to that extent. But to have that back at Penn State again, it's like I was, and all I can remember is sitting on the air going, should we end Penn State? Period. People were wanting the university to close at that point in time, and they had a point. They'll never be the same. And now some 10, 15 years ago, it just goes to show. I'm
Here we
not saying
go.
it's because it's Penn State. Here we go again. And I mean, how in the world does that happen? Where you got 15 guys, some are on the football team, some on the basketball team, they're selling coke, they're packaging stuff up. And if you want to be at Penn State, I mean, it's bad enough having to run down the hallway naked, getting hit with a bag of nickels at 3 o'clock in the morning if you want to be, coaxed into playing football or be on some type of a fraternity. But then when you have to sit
And
there,
here's and Penn State, a leopard doesn't ever change its spots, I guess.
yeah,
Penn State first allegedly became aware of this and started investigating it in 2023, Tony.
3 years
I mean,
ago.
so this has been going on. They've been peddling cocaine out of Fraternity Row. This is the third or fourth year of this, but it's the same kind of pattern from the Sandusky story. We've become aware of this. We're investigating it, but it's the same kind of mentality. Is maybe if we can just kind of keep a lid on all this stuff, maybe we can take care of it and make it go away. But that strategy doesn't work, and Penn State is stained once again because this is just an outrageous scandal in Happy Valley.
Well, there's a reason why it's Happy Valley. I got news for you, my friend.
Yeah, now we know why.
It's happy, all right.
If people
All
are
right.
blowing their brains out with coke.
There's a reason why it's called Week Zeros because there's absolutely zero on. You mentioned that big football game, TCU in North Carolina. We'll be watching that. The following week is going to be a hoot because we're going to be getting after it. It's going to be just a fantastic.
Yeah. What about our
award-winning year.
show? We're going to be
Yeah.
on 10:30 a week from
man.
Saturday. Be on
Yeah.
this Saturday, of course, too. But a week from Saturday, 10:30, the starting lineup. And then 11 o'clock, right as we go off the air on the same bat time, same bat channel, Alabama and East Carolina kick off the season in Bryant-Denny Stadium.
That is going to be fantastic. I cannot
Nick
wait.
Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Exactly. And of course, we want to enjoy that now because in about 6 weeks, we'll be halfway through the season and we'll go, what the hell just happened? The season's flying by.
It
It's going to go by
happens
super
every
quick.
year.
It happens every year. And of course, we'll have Legend to talk more about Alabama. Do want to get into Keelan Russell real quick. Your thoughts on him being chosen as the quarterback of the Crimson Tide?
I think this is a sign that they've got DeBoer's attention because I think had not all this controversy blow up and again, what he said at SEC Media Days has been kind of taken completely out of context. The question was, do you feel like you need to win a national championship at Alabama to define your career there as a success? And he says, well, we're not focused on that. He was trying to give the Nick Saban political answer of, it's all about the process. It's about building to that point. But by saying we're not focused on that, that gave Feinbaum and some other Stephen A. Smith. I mean, they just eviscerated him for that comment. What do you mean it's not our focus? You're Alabama, for God's sake. I mean, your focus has to be on national championships. But again, and another good line from my partner, Terry. She said, you know what? It's been said in politics, which she's been in for all of her career. It's said in politics, a soundbite lasts forever. Context disappears instantly. And that's exactly what has happened here. Because now DeBoer's in all this controversy. Every time he opens his mouth or says something that can be interpreted another way. So I think, Tony, because of the loyalty of Austin Mack being in their program for 4 years, following the coaching staff from Washington to Alabama, I think Austin Mack was probably going to be the starter. But now with all of the hoopla and firestorm, Keelan Russell's got such a higher ceiling and so much more potential.
He's got a cannon, man. He's got a cannon for an arm. He really does.
And this guy, this is underreported. He played for a school in Texas, Duncanville High School, which is on the 6A level, which is the highest level of Texas football. He not only won one state championship in that unbelievable competitive environment where a lot of those stadiums are 45,000 seats with private suites. This is the big time. He won 2 back-to-back championships at Duncanville, which had always been kind of a middle-of-the-road, team. And you have to say it was Keelan Russell himself that probably made that happen. I'm sure they had some great supporting cast, but this guy's got upside like crazy. And what you didn't want to do, what if you start Austin Mack because loyal? I think that would have probably been the preference of Grubb and DeBoer. Let's reward Austin, but we'll get Keelan in there and he'll eventually take over. But it's such a big deal for a kid of his kind of DNA and background to get that starting nod right away. And I think they made the wise move because look what happened at Auburn. 2 years ago, they get Deuce Knight, the huge recruit out of Mississippi, to come to Auburn, and he was going to be the great heir apparent there. And goofy ass Hugh Freeze, well, he just ain't ready to play. Well, the one when he finally got to play the end of the year, I think he ran 80 yards on the first snap that he ever took in college for a touchdown. And now guess what? Deuce Knight's carrying around a clipboard behind Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss because he's bailed from Auburn because he just wasn't ready to play. That's the nightmare scenario of recruiting these 5-star big-time high school guys and then not getting them involved right away because you're basically developing them for somebody else. And Alabama may have dodged that bullet because if I'm Keelan Russell and I don't start the season, I'm going to be saying, they don't believe in me here. I'm starting to look elsewhere.
Well, it's East Carolina, right? It's the Pirates. That should be a W. I don't know what the line is.
It should be.
24.
It will be a W. But
then you got that.
Not a cupcake.
But you got that tricky game next. You got that Kentucky spot. I know how you feel about that. You've said something on the show that you would look out for that game. So he's going to have to get right pretty quick, but he needs to get his hands dirty.
And he's got Florida State the next week and then South Carolina. I mean, and East Carolina's no joke, Tony. They won 9 games last year. They won a bowl game. And in their league, the American Athletic Conference, 3 coaches from that league, from the top 3 teams, South Florida, Tulane, and Memphis, are all now head coaches in the SEC. So that gives that league some pretty good credibility. East Carolina is the co-favorite to win that league this year.
Are you saying that Alex Mortensen at UAB may have a shot at being a coach in the SEC someday?
I mean, that league has been a pretty good feeder system this year. You got Silverfield, Golish, and Summerall all graduating from the AAC to the SEC in the same year. That's a pretty big endorsement for the quality of play in that league. And, of course, you had Tulane in the playoffs. That didn't work out very well. But the bottom line is the AAC's got a lot of credibility going right now, producing a playoff team and having 3 coaches now in the SEC. East Carolina is a 28.5-point underdog against Alabama. They're not going to win the game, but they're not a cupcake.
I'll take 4 touchdowns in the first game of the year.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that myself. I usually don't bet football, but 4 touchdowns, an experienced team, and Alabama with a lot of question marks. Like Legend says on our show, The Starting Lineup, if this happens and if that happens, and if we got a good offensive line, and if the quarterbacks gel, and if the running game comes back, and then remember he looked at the camera and says, man, that's a lot of ifs.
Yeah,
so that's what Alabama is right now. Unbelievably, a team that, as you and I have talked about, from 2013 to 2022, they were never lower than number 3 in any ranking in that entire period.
That's crazy.
So, and now look where they are. They're 13th, and that seems like they're being kind of put in the left out category.
Yeah, that's what when I asked Legends past weekend. I said, "Is Alabama lying in the weeds?" And I can't believe I even have to ask that question.
Yeah,
Alabama is the weeds. They can do whatever they want. They don't lie in the weeds. They are the lawnmower. I mean, they are the ones that drilled it up. Great show, my man. We're going to cut it up and get a couple podcasts out of this. So make sure you check it out, Tony Kurre Radio. Hey. Of course, also the best 5 minutes. We're going to get after it. We're going to have a big celebration coming up on Thursday. Hope you're part of that celebration. Then, of course, we have the Birmingham Race Course and Casino throughout the season with all kinds of free plays, announcements, and everything else. It is week 0 of the 2026 season. I cannot wait. And, of course, Keefer and Kurre Sports going an hour now throughout the entire football season. I'm looking forward to it, partner. Thank you, man.
Tony, it's been fun. We covered a lot of ground today.
Yes, we did.